Modi has spoken to money control, highlighting the impact of rising Bharat on a global stage. Prime Minister Modi said India has been advancing the interests of the developing world, including those of nations not represented in the G20, such as countries of the African Union. Now, the Prime Minister has made it clear that India's growth is not only beneficial for Indians, but also for the world. And he further added that we have followed the approach of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas in our country for the last 9 years. This is our guiding principle in global relations as well. Now, Union Minister Meenakshi Lekhi spoke at CNN News 18's town hall on Prime Minister Modi's interview. Listen in to that conversation.
You'll be happy to know, and I'll share this with our audiences as well, talking about the Global South. Just today, Prime Minister Modi has given a text interview to our sister publication, Money Control, and he's talked about India becoming the voice of the Global South. And I want to ask you about that as well, because India has now proposed the African Union be added to the G20. I believe it's been received very well by members of the G20. And the Troika, that is the past president of the G20, the current president and the next president.
And the quartet.
Yeah, and they're all sort of backing for the voice of the Global South.
Yes.
Do you think the time has come for G20, which was seen as this elite organization, to be more open and accepting of other large voices in the world which are not in the room, as you said?
As till now, that is how G20 was looked at, because it was a group of 20 most economically sound countries who controlled 85% of the global GDP, 65% or maybe more, 75% of trade and commerce, and close to 60% population. So obviously it makes a very, very powerful group. But this powerful group cannot be industrialized, cannot sustain itself until and unless the resource management from the Global South happens. So both sides need to look after each other, and the voice, by virtue of being the voice of the voiceless, we've tried to do that. That while sustainability, industrialization, renewable energy, everything becomes important, but the worst impacted countries are the countries from the Global South, and then climate finance, investment, etc. becomes important. Technology transfer, skill management becomes important for those countries. So unless we think of a subject in a comprehensive manner, it will not lead to any result. So for fruitification of the entire policy on trade, commerce or economy, both sides need to meet at some point and discuss it openly. Some heart-to-heart talk needs to happen, and that's what we propose.
Well, we have Aman Sharma joining us on the broadcast to continue this conversation on all that has been said at this town hall. Aman, coming to you, a very good morning. Well, we heard the conversation about G20 being a much more inclusive group now, welcoming more members. How are we looking at this conversation that we just heard Meenakshi Lekhi speak on?
Well, obviously, I think India is making a very, very strong pitch for the inclusion of the African Union also in the G20. When the European Union can be a part of it, why not the African Union? And that will also be a strong pitch by Mr. Narendra Modi to pitch for the Global South, you know, as India always says that it is the shoulder for the Global South, the voice of the Global South. And that is also reflecting in this interview, exclusive interview by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Money Control, which is now in fact out on the Money Control website in full details, where Prime Minister is saying India's growth is good for the world. He's spoken on various topics, India and the Global South, India's G20 presidency, how it became a democratization of the G20 event, where, you know, it was taken to over 60 cities with 220 events by India out of Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore to even tier 2 cities. The PM also speaking about India's growth story, how India is going to become the third largest economy in the world in the years to come, the roadmap for the same. PM also speaking about the issue of reining in inflation and how his government has taken steps to rein in inflation, including mentioning the recent cut of rupees 200 in the LPG prices. The Prime Minister also speaking about how it is the big mandate that he got from the people in 2014 as well as 2019, which has led to stability in government, a stable, strong government, which has led to also to deep structural reforms, which has led to this growth. So very, very important points being made by the PM. If we break it down into 5 major things, what the PM has said, obviously he speaks about India and the G20. He speaks about the global south. He speaks about India's rapidly expanding and in fact the digital public infrastructure. We have seen the heights that the India's UPI platform has reached. PM is speaking about how to rein in inflation, the steps his government has taken, and of course the road to the third largest economy. If we come to the point of reining in inflation for that matter, which has been on the top of minds of many world leaders, the PM says that inflation is a key issue that the world faces, and first the pandemic and then the conflict between Russia and Ukraine have changed the global inflation dynamics, but his government has taken a number of steps to control inflation. He says even in the face of global adversities, global dynamics which have been seen in the last 2 years, India's inflation was 2 percentage points lower than what the global average inflation rate was in 2022. He also says that we are not resting on this, we are continuing to make pro-people decisions to boost the ease of living. And he says recently on Raksha Bandhan, you saw how India brought down the price of LPG by rupees 200 for all consumers. Also, PM speaking about the road to the third largest economy in the world. India is currently, the PM said, the 5th largest economy, which is indeed very important, he says. And he said this is a feat which has been achieved because the government that is trusted by the people and the government to trust the capabilities of the people. Another very important comment to money control here, he says that it is a privilege and honor for him that people have placed unprecedented trust in him. He said that they gave me a majority mandate not just once but twice. The first mandate, the PM said, was about the promises that he made to the people in 2014 before coming to power. But the second mandate, which was even bigger than the first mandate, was about his performance of his Modi's term 1 government, as well as the future plan he had for the country. And I think very important point, political point being made by the PM, that due to this political stability, every other sector could see deep structural reform. So I think the Prime Minister is stressing on this point of political stability in the country. That is what is leading to, he's saying, the deep structural reforms, be it the GST or be it the other steps which have been taken, which have helped our economy climb to the 5th largest economy in the world. And soon, the PM said, in the years to come, will be the 3rd largest economy. He has spoken about various achievements of his government. He's spoken about how FDI in India is breaking records year after year. Export records are being broken both in services and goods. How Make in India has taken off with great success. Setups and mobile manufacturing, he has said, that has done wonders. The adding job opportunities, the benefits of growth, he's saying, is being taken to the last mile. Also, very importantly, I think the PM speaking about how women have emerged as the driving force of our growth story. This increasing focus of the Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, as well as the BJP, on the woman voter, on cultivating the woman voter, on working for the woman. And he's saying that woman is emerging as the driving force of our growth journey while development initiatives are coming to the forefront. It is women who are taking the lead, the PM says, in every sector. So
Aman,
I think very important point made by the PM.
Thank you for all those details. But we also have Pallavi, Payal and Arunima joining us in this conversation that we are having about the Prime Minister and the interview he gave to Money Control and the points that he has made. Quite a couple of important points like Aman was pointing out. Pallavi, I'll come to you first. He's made this crucial remark about how the approach of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas has also been the approach for him when it comes to the world politics as well. Like, he has tried to bring that out there as well, that approach out there as well. How are we looking at that?
Well, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas really has been the hallmark of the Prime Minister's comments, not just today at this interview, but even all along, clearly making the point that we are not going to be selective in ensuring the benefits of a scheme to the people. Thereby, he also, in a sense, indicates the fact that his predecessors, particularly the Congress party and the UPA government, have been very selective. As we all know, Congress has often been accused by the BJP of a minority appeasement party, and thereby the real benefits which should actually go down to the minorities has often not gone down because you want to give them a false sense of being placated. He doesn't mention it very much in detail, but the indication is also of the fact that laws like the banning of the triple talaq, that is something which actually has come as a huge benefit as far as a large number of Muslim women is concerned. And why is it that this was something which was never ever thought by his predecessors? Apart from that, the schemes of the government, the benefits, the policies, direct money into the accounts of women, for farmers, that is not going to be done on the basis of any caste, creed, or religion. In that sense, the cardinal principle of this government will be Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And frankly speaking, Jaya, I think this is also going to be their pitch really for the state elections, definitely, but for the Lok Sabha elections as well. That here is a government which actually is going to look at everyone equally in terms of giving the benefits of governance to them. We are not going to look at any one particular caste. We are not going to look at a particular religion because we feel those are the ones which need to be placated. This has been a consistent allegation from the Prime Minister and the BJP towards not just the Congress but even parties like the DMK at times with the Trinamool Congress, that they first look at the kind of people who are vote bank politics. That's what he's always talked about and attacked them for. That's not what we are going to be looking at. We have to look at India or Bharat as one, and therefore the benefits of the government must go to them.
Right, Pallavi. Pallavi, from what you said, continuing the conversation with Payal, I'm coming to you next. I think what Pallavi also said towards the end of her points is the fact that Prime Minister Modi has also pointed out the political stability that has come in this country, and he's pointed out that a government that has been in power not just one term but twice, and the kind of stability that has provided to the country that's helped in its development as well, and that is why India is in its growing stage right now, and it has been doing so well for the last couple of years now. So how are we looking at that? How are we placing that into context in the conversation?
Well, this is not the first time that the Prime Minister has really spoken about this. He's made this point very, very important in a large number of meetings. Essentially saying that India was marred by coalition dharma and they were forced to be hand in glove with other parties given the fact that they had coalition dharma at their respect. But here is this government which has majority and absolute majority, a bigger majority in 2019 than in 2014. And what does a full government mean? The full government means a decisive mandate. It means that it can take decisions effectively. And that is something which shows that the people have confidence in their leadership. It's not that they're bringing a combination of people. They have confidence in one party, they have confidence in one leader. And here it is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's name, which has been the biggest star campaigner for the BJP. Now, many in the BJP fold will also tell you it is a man who's on a relentless mission. He's somebody who's been, probably working 24/7. There was recently an RTI reply which showed that over the last 9 years plus, the Prime Minister has not taken a single leave, has not fallen sick a single day. So obviously that's the kind of effort that he makes in. And it's a very, very decisive leadership. Like Pallavi was pointing out, when you have a reform like Triple Talaq, it takes a lot of courage for the party to be able to do that, for the government to be able to do that. To abrogate Article 370, it was a decision taken by the government to ensure that 80 crore people are given free ration through COVID period and continuing. That is also very, very decisive mandate in its respect. So Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas is something which the Modi government has been speaking about. The Prime Minister has spoken about the importance of having governments which are strong, governments which are majority. Even during his interaction with his party MPs during the cluster meeting. So obviously that's what he's speaking about. He's saying that this is the government which has had the political will to take decisions. This is the government which has the political will to take crucial decisions despite the fact that there were decisions taken like GST and even demonetization. Now political parties went hammer and tongs against the government on demonetization, but largely people were happy that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was doing a surgical strike of sorts on probably who were people on the wrong side of the law. So that's the kind of effect that Modi has been able to have through these 9 years and continuing, and is very, very confident that he'll come back with a bigger majority in 2024, because in a number of meetings he's also said to his party MPs in the NDA that when the party comes back, they'll be the world's third largest economy in 2024.
Right, Payal. I'll continue this conversation with Arunima now. Arunima, another point that has come up, and the Prime Minister made this point in his conversation yesterday, is regarding the Troika. And he said that this is perhaps the first time that the Troika is with the developing world. If you could throw some light or put this into context as to kind of narrative it sets in the geopolitical situation right now.
Prime Minister and the entire focus of our G20 negotiations so far, even at the Sherpa level, at the various working group levels, we have tried to put forth the view of the global south. That is the developing world. And for long, India has complained that joined by, when he means the Troika, he means Brazil, India and Indonesia. What the Troika and the developing world has long complained is that the global north has not really appreciated the concerns of the global south, of the developing world. For example, if you take environmental concerns, the level of emission that has to be cut, the level of infrastructure development that has to be regulated to ensure that climate change, global warming concerns on those counts are taken into account. The allegation is to the north, the developed world has the responsibility much more, but yet they are wanting the global south to come at par with what their commitment levels are. So issues like this, along with the kind of economic pressures that the world is seeing at the moment, the Russia-Ukraine war has just added to the inflationary pressures of the world. So at the G20 summit, the global south has been the focus, and the Prime Minister said that because the Troika, Indonesia, India and Brazil are together in this, and we saw how the African Union is also getting such a push from India's side as well. So when you democratize such forums, such international forums, the Prime Minister's take is that you ensure truly what India is pushing for in this G20, which is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, and you're therefore taking into account not just concerns of one section of the population of the world, but everybody who's affected by the decisions taken at summit meetings like G20.
Right, Arunima, Payal and Pallavi, we will continue this conversation as we move ahead. But right now, let's listen into what Union Minister Piyush Goyal had to say about the Prime Minister's interview at the town hall yesterday.
PM Narendra Modi has spoken with Money Control and he's given an interview where he said that the fact that the Troika is with the developing nations, so Indonesia, India and Brazil, also shows that the focus is shifting and that we will champion the cause of developing nations. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a great sign that the world recognizes that the developing nations will be the engine of growth for the future. India with 1.4 billion young population, our average age is still under 30, and for the next 30 years, we will continue to be a young nation with an average age under 30. And this is the period for comfort. And as income levels rapidly rise in India, we are going to be the demand driver for goods and services across the world. So I personally believe in the next 30 years, this young under 30 population of India is going to add at least $30 trillion to our GDP. At the very least, could be more. So by 2047, I see in the next 24 years, a $35 trillion Indian GDP, which will be the single largest opportunity for investors, and our own role in international trade will massively increase. Our soft power will be reflected across the world, and I'm happy to share with you the previous two engagements before I came here. I spent first almost 3 hours with the fashion industry of India, a huge potential which we can take across the world, which will help our artisans, our handloom weavers, our fashion designers, and can really create huge opportunities both for business and jobs. After that, I spent 2 hours with the service industry as a whole, healthcare, education, tourism, the IT industry. NASSCOM was represented there. The MICE sector, where we are going to make rapid strides in the days to come. Gradually, the focus will be to get the world's biggest exhibitions and conferences and seminars in India, and we are building the ecosystem and infrastructure.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while speaking with Money Control, part of Network 18, has spoken about the human-centric growth and globalization and that orientation compared to GDP driven. He's also spoken and said that we have shown developing nations that we can grow, achieve green growth. So can you elaborate a little more on it?
Well, you know, when you are talking about growth that is driven purely by market forces and a competitive sense of economies, I think there is a certain zero-sum game that is practiced. But when you look at the world as one family, under the concept and our philosophical concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, then you understand that you can all grow and you can all succeed together. I mean, the very concept of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas is based on the fact that we grow, you grow, and everybody grows. So that is basically the approach. And we have seen it during the COVID times. I think some of us might recall that when COVID broke out, it was Prime Minister Modi that called for the G20 to convene on this issue that faced mankind.
Yeah.
And the Saudi presidency at that time convened an extraordinary summit of the G20. And at that time, the Prime Minister said, the G20 has always met on a financial or an economic issue.
Yeah.
It's the first time that it is meeting on a humanitarian issue, and he called for human-centric globalization. And that is the approach that we have adopted. And of course, you talked about green growth.
Yes.
You know, we do understand that a transition to a greener, cleaner economy is not one that we have undertaken because we are asked to do so. We have done it because it's in our benefit to do so.
प्रधानमंत्री का एक बड़ा इंटरव्यू न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया पर हुआ है, जिसमें उन्होंने कई मुद्दों पर जिक्र किया, कई मुद्दों पर उन्होंने अपनी बात रखी, खास करके G20 पर। और उन्होंने कहा है कि राजनीतिक स्थिरता की वजह से ही भारत का विकास हुआ है।
देखिए, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा है। 2004 से 2014 के बीच में हमने उस प्रधानमंत्री को देखा जो कहते थे मैं कैसे करप्शन को रोकूं, मैं तो एक ऐसी सरकार चलाता हूं जो कोलिशन है। और आज भी वो लोग जो अलायंस बन रहा है वो जीतने के लिए नहीं, एक कमजोर प्रधानमंत्री हो ताकि हमारे भ्रष्टाचार पे हो रही कार्रवाई रुक जाए।
ठीक है, भारत का विकास विश्व के लिए अच्छा है और दूसरे देशों के लिए ये एक नजीर है।
देखिए, कई सौ साल हम अंग्रेजों के गुलाम रहे, उन्होंने हम पर शासन किया। आज उनकी अर्थव्यवस्था को देखिए, अपने किंग की कोरोनेशन के लिए उनके पास पैसे नहीं है। हमने 5वीं अर्थव्यवस्था बन के उन्हें पछाड़कर जहां कोई नहीं जा पाया, चांद के अंधेरी तरफ, वहां भारत जा पाया है। तो ये डेवलपमेंट जिस प्रकार से अपनी पॉपुलेशन और अपने बाजार के आधार पर जो डेवलपमेंट की गई है, वो सच में विश्व के लिए, बहुत लोगों के लिए देखने के लिए चीज है।
Now, amid conversations about the G20 that is just a few days away right now, we have a full-blown controversy that has emerged out of a G20 dinner invite over the name India. Let's have a look at that.
ये सारे समस्याओं को भूलकर आज वो हमारे देश के नाम और कांग्रेस को लेकर राजनीति कर रहे, इसीलिए आने वाले चुनाव में इनकी हार निश्चित।
देश तो 140 करोड़ लोगों का है, किसी एक पार्टी का देश थोड़ी है। कल मान लीजिए इस इंडिया अलायंस ने